now that it's more, I don't want to say normalized, a different life, what things have you taken from the gym to be able to apply to your mindset now? Like life lessons from the gym that you're applying now. Or maybe not even that. Just things that you've learned over a period of time that's going to help you currently and to move forward.
I'd say resiliency. Like, because there's going to be times where things aren't going, where you're stagnated, or where you've even had a setback, and you got to just keep rolling. Like, training's like that.
Yeah.
You might not progress for a year, but you just keep pushing to find a way to break through. And that's kind of how life is, business. So a lot of this carries over to business, where it's consistency over time. So I know that it's slow going, like the channel growth. It can be slow. You're like, all right, I'm not breaking through. But if you stay consistent with it on a schedule where it's doable and you're disciplined about it, you will have a breakthrough at some point. You got to keep grinding. I have to tell myself that a lot of times, because it's easy to see the adversity and you start getting down about it. But that's how lifting was. It wasn't like you just were linearly progressing for 10 years. It's freaking impossible. There's a lot of bad days. There's some bad lifts. There's a lot of failures, and you keep going. And over that time period, because I see a lot of people where the first sign of adversity in the gym, they just they back out. That's it. They're done. They're done. Like, they're cruising for a while, making good progress. They hit some adversity. They're done. They check out. I'm like, that's just part of the game. You got to push through it. You might not progress on a lift for a year. Find another way. That's how it is. So I think that's very applicable to life and business. It's like, it's not smooth. Nobody's life is smooth. Nobody's. You don't. I know this. I don't care what you see, because even we lose sight of it. We see one presentation. But I'm like, you all have skeletons in your closet. Everybody has problems. Nobody's life is perfect. Everyone gets stressed. You know, my problems aren't your problems, but you still got problems. And you got to realize that. Like, I try not to look at other people's lives and say they got it better than me. I'm like, you just got different problems. That's it.
Something I tell, and I don't have to tell you this because you already know this, but something I'll tell people that are new to online coaching or just being online education and all those things is, when you're online, it's not the real world, right? So like a big percent, I don't know the percent, you know, it's, maybe we could probably agree on 90% of what you see is bad, you know, from your comments, your DMs, all this other kind of stuff. And it's either bad because what they're sending is bad, or there's just nothing, right? But 90% is bad, right? That's just the way it is when you're online. Now in your gym, right, this is what can help balance that online as you're building that online, because as that comes back, all that bad comes back, right? Because there's not praise in the comment section, very few. That's why most people just, you know, ghost post, you don't pay attention to it, but it's engagement, which helps the comment section.
Yes, sir.
But in the gym, in your gym, the clients that you're working with, 90% of it's all positive.
Yes.
You know, thank you. You see the rewards, you know, have a good day. You know, all this it's all real world light, right? Where on the other side, it's flipped. But that's because in the real gym world, you're speaking to and seeing the vocal majority. When you're online, the only thing that you see is the vocal minority. I'm sorry, it's the reverse. So when in real world, you're talking to the silent majority.
True.
Right? When you're online, the only people you're hearing is the vocal minority.
People are more apt to post a bad review than a positive.
100%. 100%. And when you're an online content creator, you have to know that, and you have to understand that. And I think it's important for a lot of them, if they don't know and understand that, to put some work into a gym, you know, maybe do some hours as a personal trainer, you know, do something to be around, to be able to see where you can be told the work is appreciated, right? Where online, you have to just assume it's appreciated and do it in such a way that you don't feel like you're feeding your ego because of that. And you know what I'm talking, because you've been in this world, right? So you know it. So this is more for, I guess, a reminder to you as the channel grows, you know, because at a certain point you're like, what the fuck is this even worth? You know, it's not,
Yes.
you know, is it worth all this bullshit? And it is, because the people who are going to tell you that it's worth it are not going to tell you online.
That's true. It's 100% true.
Yes. So it's just the nature of it.
I think one way to help with that is like, just don't hold back. Like, try to be real. People really appreciate that. They go, okay, that's real. He's not BSing me. He's not beating around the bush. And when they see that, they're like, okay, they buy in harder, because they really know. They know you're not like, you know, telling them a bunch of crap or just trying to, you know, I don't even know how to put it, but that's one thing that can help with that. Where, like I said, I have to fish for negative. I'm like, I can't find it.
Yeah.
I'm not deleting comments. There's just not any criticism. So it sucks, but it's, I mean, it's good, but it sucks. But because that can often help you. It can sharpen you when you realize, okay.
Yeah.
So,
well, not having any at all, though, ends up is the same thing, right? Because if there's no comments at all, then
that's
there's
true.
nothing, right? So that can be perceived as the creator as negative.
Very true.
Nobody gives a fuck.
There's not feedback.
You know, but they do give a fuck because they watched it.
And I want there to be another thing we're dealing with these days is like people's attention spans and such are getting so bad with the quick social media, the TikTok and all that, where I'm like, you know, the value's in the longer form, the podcast, but they just want to watch a freaking 30-second clip. And I just refuse to buy into that. I'm just like, I'm not doing this.
I don't know how much of that's really true. I mean, because if I look at our content, and I mean, that's all we've done for 25 years of content.
That's true.
You know, so all the products we sell essentially is what pays for the content. You know, we're a retailer that uses the profits of the products to produce content. You know, that's the way it's been since day one. You know, that's what separates us from a lot of the other competitors, is that. So for a long time, it was a Q&A. You know, you probably remember the Q&A and the training logs, and that's what it was. And it was, you know, articles, and articles became more popular. Then the articles kind of moved into blogs, and then the blogs, and then YouTube starts coming around. And like I said earlier, our first YouTube video was like 15 years ago. Then that comes around, you're like, fuck YouTube. You know, we're just going to use it because it's bandwidth, and we can embed the video in the blog, you know, so we don't have to pay for the bandwidth of the video. So content always changes. And, you know, now what I see is long form, like the podcast, long form podcasts do well. They do well. And yes, the short clips and reels, and they do very well too. The middle is what's getting, you know, wiped out, which is interesting, because it's in the middle of everything. And Wendler and I had a conversation about it. It's the middle of everything that's getting wiped out. It doesn't matter what it is, you know, it's in the middle of everything. It's happening with everything. But those two spots, you know, are good, you know, and if the short can feed the long, then the long can make a bigger difference, I think, than even the articles and the blogs ever did. You know, it's just, you lose, because I think with the articles and the blogs, if you really think back, I wonder how many people actually read compared to how many people skim read. Because I know how we had to publish and how we still publish. You know, every main paragraph has a bold header. And the bold header of that main paragraph, as we already know, you're scanning down there. You're not reading it. You're looking for the bold header that catches your attention. Then you'll read that paragraph. And if that's intriguing, maybe you'll go back and look at the other ones. So it was already kind of short form.
Okay.
Without it already being short form. You know, so
no, that makes a lot of sense.
It is. But the attention is obviously, you know, because I'll watch my kid flip through his phone, and it's fascinating to me, because I mean, it's just just like flipping faster and shit, and then he'll like one and then flip, and I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, like, why the fuck did you like that one but you didn't like the one before that? I mean, they all look like car shit to me, but this one, and the speed doesn't stop. It's not like I'm watching it, then like what the fuck created that one? I don't know. And it's an 18-year-old, so I don't know, and but it's irritating and fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, we have to change with the world, lean into
Yeah.
it, but it's I don't know. Sometimes I want to rebel against it a little bit.
Yeah.
God, I don't want to scroll through all this stuff. Like, I don't know.
I don't, it's,
I get it.
it's the one thing with Instagram that's kind of driving me fucking nuts now is it's become the one thing I've noticed with that is the majority of people who I'd want to have on the podcast do answer they have their own, nobody's running their Instagram. Like, I think everybody thinks somebody else is running their Instagram. That's so rare, right? Like, even at your height of popularity, would you fucking want to have anybody do it for you? It's your name.
Yeah, that's true.
That's your fucking name, right? No, like other stuff maybe, but not that. But when I'll go on, I used to do these stupid reaction videos, of just like screaming at people's lifts and stuff like that. And the people would send them to me, so it was easier. So when I would go in and start looking for them, it's I can't. All I see it is fucking somehow or another. I always end up on the reels. I'm like, I want to see the post.
Okay.
But it's like, and now it's just none of it's lifting related for me anyhow. So it's just like knives and guns and shit, cigars, just other things so I don't see a lot of what's really going on with the whole thing, but I lose interest so fast.
Has your interest in powerlifting and training kind of gone down over the years where you're like, I don't care as much what's going on in the mainstream?
I've never cared that much about what's going on in the mainstream, because one of the things is that I've always seen, and I see it even more so today, is when lifters forget why they started, the better they get. Like, this started with you deadlifting in your basement. It was an outlet. You fucking loved deadlifting.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It didn't matter if it was filmed or not filmed. You're still fucking doing it because you love it. Then the longer they'll stay in it, then all of a sudden, all this other noise creeps in. What federation should you be in? Fuck this meet director. Fuck them. Fuck these guys. They wear gear. Fuck this. Fuck that. And then the next thing you know, the whole sport becomes that. And you forgot it was about deadlifting in the basement. And I think that's why I try to keep myself out of all that and just not deal with it, because that's not powerlifting. Right? That's one aspect of powerlifting that impacts maybe the top 2%. I'm more concerned about the bottom 90% that are in their deadlifting in the fucking basement, because that's how they're dealing with their shit, and they love fucking powerlifting. Why should I care about the people that hate it? Because that's what they put out there. If everything they're putting out there is bitching about this, bitching about that, then why the fuck are you still doing it? If you hate it, fucking quit. I'm not going to focus on you. I'm going to focus on the people that fucking love it for the right reasons, and that's, what I'm saying? That's that real world shit where you can look at what's behind the screen, like we talked about before, and the darkness of being online and not being connected to what's going on in the real world makes you think that's the real world. Walk into your gym when your lifters are in there training, right? And it can be, a Gen Pop person fucking just squatted 115 for the first time. And that feeling, for them is like you pulling 900 pounds. Fuck, they may have just beat cancer, and just squatted the bar for the first. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's why I try to avoid all that. And that's why I don't let all that change my perception of powerlifting, because that's what it really is. Did I lose it, after I retired and hate it? Yes. Fuck yes. Because it was my identity. Right? So you got to come to terms with who am I really? And so yes.
That's where I've been, man.
Yeah, I still have a hard time going to meets, so there's still those areas, because to me the meets is not the sport.
It's not.
No, it's the fucking gym. It's
Training.
the basement. It's the garage. It's the training. That's what it is. So I try to avoid all those other things to keep my perception on what it really is.
That's like the most epic rant I've ever heard. No, I'm serious. That was freaking gold. That was unreal. That got me. I was like, you nailed it. That's exactly it. I try to remember. I'm like, most of these people don't want to compete. They're not going to compete. They don't care about this minutia of like all these politics about we got to do this. You got to do. They just want to lift heavy. That's what everybody who's watching wants to do.
Yep.
They're here to lift heavy. They're not here for competition necessarily. It's a very small percentage. And I think what you said too, where it's like, losing that identity. Been there, struggled with it years.
No, it's tough.
Years.
It's tough, and it never goes away. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, there's still going to be days where like, man, fuck, I wish, especially like on certain lifts, it's like, man, my bench right now is fucking, it's below poverty, man. It's terrible. It sucks when you're doing a single of something you could do for 38 reps.
Oh yeah.
That never goes away, but you got to find how to reframe it. I'll tell you what, it doesn't piss me off like it used to. Like it pissed me off for days. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like, oh, fuck it. I'll just go home.
Well, do you ever really think we figure it out? I think we're always just trying to figure it out.
Fuck no, man. I'm still trying to figure it out. Anybody that says they haven't figured it out is a fucking liar.
I agree.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
You don't figure it out. You could be 40s, 50s. Do you ever figure it out? I don't know if you figure life out. Life's this journey.
How could you? Because your path is your path. My path is my path.
That's right.
So to say that we figured it out means I have to figure out your path and somebody else's path to know what mine is. It's my path.
Well, what is success? How do you define that in life?
I don't define it. There's things I strive for, but let's just say that word doesn't exist. Then what is it? Right? Because there's things I strive for, most definitely. There's more financial freedom that I would strive for. Yes. There's the impact that I can have on my own family. I work from a selfish standpoint. I work from myself out, right? So, and you're doing this, what can I do to make myself the best I can be now, physically, spiritually, and mentally? Am I where I should be? Absolutely not. Right? So what do I need to do to get those things right? And as long as I always focus on getting those things right, then I can be a better husband and a better father, because that's what matters the most. But not as much as those things, because without those things, I can't be the husband and the father. Then after that, it's my business. It's the business staff. Am I creating the environment, to be able for that to grow and have success? After those things, then I'll worry about anything after that. Those things don't line up first. Anything after that doesn't have any significance. If my own house is not in order, right? If I'm not in order, I can't keep my house in order. If my house isn't in order, how the fuck am I going to keep my business in order? If my business is not in order, then how the fuck am I going to give a shit? Or how am I going to have any impact on my own community, school district, neighborhood, whatever it's going to be? And I'm work from there out. I'm not going to spend my time, and I've gone down rabbit holes and got stuck on certain political issues, and certain things that, after a day being pissed off, frustrated, I realized this is fucking wrong. Because I just spent all my time on something I have no control over that didn't actually have any impact on me, my family, or my business or community. It stole from me, and I let that happen. No way am I going to let fucking people steal things from me. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point, because it's just like,
well, look at the people that bitch the most. Normally their own house is not in order.
I feel like that's a big thing where we see this projection of people are so quick to jump on others and talk shit when they're not in order. Their stuff's not in order. But the ones who are quiet, I mean, what am I trying to say here? It's like I'm not perfect, but I try not to criticize people for what they've done, mistakes,
Yeah.
sins, whatever, crimes. Because if I'm not freaking perfect, who the hell am I to call somebody else out? I don't care if our sins or whatever aren't equal. I'm like, I still am not perfect. I still sin. I still screw up. So I'm not going to jump all over someone else, be an opportunist, and just tear them down. Am I really that much better then? You know, I just, that's one thing I have a problem with, where I'm like, this culture is so quick to jump on others and just, like, you're not perfect either.
It's externally rewarded. You know, so if you go online and you start tearing other people down, you know, the old analogy, you tear other buildings down to make your building look bigger. We all know that's not true, but it's externally rewarded. It'll get shared, it'll get likes, it'll get all the other stuff. It's internally not rewarding. They have to go home, right? And they have to deal with that. And they have to go home and they have to deal with the fact that they're depressed, they're angry, they're frustrated, they're, you know, all this other kind of stuff. They have a shitty relationship with those people around them, right? Most people who are criticized, you know, are criticizing because they're angry people, right? So that's what they have to go home to, you know, but they can have the extrinsic rewards. I don't give a fuck. They can have the likes, they can have the comments and all that. You know, show me the person that's got peace of mind and I'll show you success. So there you go. Right. So the person who has peace of mind is the one that has success.
That makes sense.
You know, and and anybody can have that, but it's the hardest thing to have because, you know, and it can be rewarded. So many other things are rewarded in so many other ways. Right. But what's a better reward? Going to bed at night with your wife, knowing that you're loved, you know, or going to bed knowing that you're going to get fucking 1,000 likes before the morning. Which one matters more? Right? It's perspective.
I like it because even for me, something I struggle with sometimes is I'm like, I don't want to get so caught up in my everyday tasks and the things I need to get done that I lose sight of what's in front of me. And it happens to me sometimes. I'm so busy. I have so many things I have to get done on a daily basis from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. Like, I'm not even smelling the flowers in front of me. I'm not taking this moment in this day.
It's all right though, right? Because if those things that you're doing are remember that 3 things deep, man.
Yes,
so
sir.
If it's the third thing, but that's what's providing for the second and the first,
Okay.
then it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Because if you have to do those things to be able to give yourself the spiritual, the mental, and the physical base that you need to be able to provide for those around you, then that's okay, right? Because it's in there. It's the things that fall outside of there where it becomes a different conversation. You know,
Perfect example. This sounds
Yeah,
so
yeah,
stupid,
yeah.
but there was like, I was on this like, you know, insider Wisconsin football recruiting forum, and I would just waste time on this. And I'm like, what in the hell is this even affecting me? I was like, I got to get rid of this. I'm spending 2 hours a day wasting my time on this that has no effect on me. I'm like, I'll watch their games, but I don't need to be this in tune. And because it's outside of that tier. And I realized then, I'm like, this is a freaking waste of time. I could be so much more productive. I'm like, yes, I love football. I love college football. Love the Wisconsin Badgers. But I'm like, this is taking it too far. I could use those 2 hours for something that would fall into that line, those three tiers.
Well, it's a daughter, right?
Yes, sir.
So as your daughter grows, the better you're going to become at doing that.
Okay.
Right? Because it's stealing time away from her.
100%.
Right. So, and it's part of being a father, is part of, you know, growing up and all other, and it's all those other things where those times become more protected, you know, where I'm not saying don't have hobbies and all. I'm not saying that. I mean, everybody's going to have that, and where everybody's going to fall down rabbit holes and all this other kind of shit, you know, but it's just, it's taking the time to be able to step back and think those, you know, those things there, because it's as your time becomes more you have more shit now.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, there's two businesses, you know, actually kind of 3 if you think about it, if you're trying to grow the social part. So there's 3 businesses, then a daughter, then a wife. There's not really a whole hell of a lot of time, you know, outside of all that. And then whatever time's outside of all that, you need to protect.
Yeah, and it's the same. Like you're 100% right. As I've gotten older, more responsibilities, less time to mess around. My training's gone from, okay, we're going to train for 4 or 5 hours and hang out in the gym and talk, to I'm like, I got an hour. Let's dial it in. Mm-hmm. Cut out accessories. Let's get this done. And you have to be real. You have to be really efficient. So that's completely changed. I'm like, I can't spend 4 hours doing 100 accessories. It's got to be dialed in. Mm-hmm. And that's shifted completely in the last couple of years, especially once my daughter was born. It's like, no, she's taking a nap. You take advantage of that time. Like, get something done. Mm-hmm. So that's been a big shift as well.
What other thing? I mean,